Jonathan. I'm an architect in Arizona, and I'm using Archicad. I know that's kind of taboo. Revit is the standard, and we use Revit in my office. I've used Revit for many years, and I've also used Archicad for many years. And I just wanted to share why I like Archicad for design. I think it's a better design tool than Revit, and a lot of people aren't familiar with it and don't know how to articulate that. So I just wanted to show you a few little things and reasons why I like it so much. This looks a lot like SketchUp, if you're familiar with SketchUp, but I am in Archicad. And it's just simple and easy to use, similarly to SketchUp, only better. I mean, I can grab a corner or an edge, and I can type in a distance, and I can stretch and pull things and make them thicker or thinner, just like I would in SketchUp. I mean, I can change the materiality of surfaces very easily and very quickly. For instance, this slab that I'm using as a roof, if I want to give it different materials, I can say I want the edge to be black and I want the top to be gray, just for this little sketch I'm doing, and there it is. Or right now I have this wall as glass. I want it to be solid. I can type in whatever I want, brick, and well, it looks like I need to change my. Let's try CMU. My material's not very good. Okay, now it's a CMU wall. Very quickly, very easily. Another interesting thing that I like, for instance, why do I like it better than SketchUp for schematic design? Well, hey, pardon me for jumping around so much. This roof right here that I'm playing with, let's say, I want to say, what does this look like with a 312 pitch? Okay, what does this look like with a 112 pitch? In a matter of seconds, I can change the angle, and I know exactly what angle it is. And in SketchUp, that would be a lot more time consuming. Or like just modeling a curtain wall in SketchUp, it takes hours. And versus here, I've got, similarly to Revit, I can just do a curtain wall immediately, and I can change the size and I can change the height of it. And I can put windows. I can drop windows in, which I can't do in SketchUp. I could do it in Revit, but in Revit, working in 3D is a pain. In customizing windows in Revit, you can customize infinitely, but it's just very time consuming. Versus in Archicad, they have these pre-baked windows that you can just, let's say I want to have 2 and 3. Let's just see it. I could just start playing with it and goofing around schematically, and I'm just trying to see what other options I can do with this thing. Stretch it. I can duplicate it, create another window there. I can put an opening in this wall. I can drop an opening in the wall. I can grab the corners of the opening, and I can offset them inwards or outwards. Or I can, let's see here. I can grab an edge. There we go. I can drag an edge. So I can just really go to town. Here's a material that looks kind of like a sandstone that I placed on this wall. I could just go to town and do things really quickly and play around like this. I was playing around earlier with this over here. I had this whole segment that I grouped, and then I just wanted to mirror it. And I can mirror it just like I would in SketchUp. The other thing is it's really nice to navigate in 3D, and I can snap to these guidelines just like I would in SketchUp. and move things. I know I'm moving it on the x-axis. I know I'm moving it on the y-axis. It's just very difficult to do in Revit. Revit's really not good for manipulating and moving things in 3D. The other thing about Revit is the libraries. There's a lot more pieces and parts for Revit that people have made that you can download online, but the built-in library, you know what I'm going to do just to navigate a little more easily. The built-in Revit library is terrible. I'll show you. I'll compare that with Archicad. I'm going to trim my view just to have this a little easier to use by using this marquee tool. I'm going to go to show marquee in 3D, cropped out everything else except for this one, what I selected in 3D. See, everything else is gone. It's a little easier to use. So you can see like I dropped some plants and little objects in here. You could just go to the object tool and pull open this window, and I want to put a truck. I type in truck and I get trucks. Or this is better yet. I put in table and I get tables, all kinds of tables that are just built in to the software. So if I select my, and of course I can, I can customize it. I want it to be 6 foot diameter and whatnot. I could just drop it in there, and now I have a table. When you're just trying to be quick and dirty and come up and generate ideas, it's so fast and easy and graphically oriented. When I'm selecting objects, I can see what they look like, and I can play with the shadows just like I would in SketchUp. The other nice thing is, you see these boxes. I had these hidden previously. What these are is, they're called zones. They're just 2D boxes that I can move around, and they give me a name, and I can put a name on it, like this is a flex classroom, and it has my square footage. I can reshape these and resize these. I want an additional 8 feet, and it updates my square footage. And it's so nice because I can create, I'm just going down to the first floor, a whole floor plan and just diagrammatically lay out all my spaces, my restroom, my break room, my conference room, without actually drawing any walls yet. If Archicad has layers, so I'm just going to turn off my wall layers. A wall. Just turn all these off for a second. I love to, oh, sorry, I also have a sketch in the background that I underlaid there. I'm going to hide that as well. I love to just lay out my whole floor plan with just 2D boxes, because I can come up with 4 or 5 or 10 different variations on that same floor plan with just 2D fills. And you're creating bubble diagrams that you can easily manipulate and you can easily duplicate. I can create another copy of it, and I can mirror it whichever way I want, and all the labels and everything. I could show this to a client and say, do you like this floor plan layout? This is how much square footage it is, without having to draw any walls or any doors or anything yet. It's just extremely diagrammatic. And what's great is, these boxes, these fills, they translate into 3D. So I could basically hide everything else other than these boxes. Oh no, I'm going to forget how to do that. Let's do this. Do it with layers. Turn off all my layers except for the zone layer. Right? And I have kind of a diagrammatic massing model with just these boxes, which of course I can change the height of them if I want. I could start to manipulate them in 3D if I want, add a point, and I can see if I can extrude the side here. You know, oh, I want that 12 more feet. You know, it's like just really simple and easy to use. And I'm working in 3D instead of in 2D if I want. Or I could switch back to 2D, and this is the one I was working on right here. Here's the one I was manipulating. You know, oh, I think that's dumb. I'm going to put it back. You know, the other great thing is with Archicad that's makes it so easy for schematic design. If I'm on the second floor and I want to do an underlay or trace layer of my first floor, I'm seeing the first floor under my second floor. We're like, well, I can do that in Revit. Oh, can you? Can you do that in Revit? Check this out. I can play with the opacity of the first floor. I can, or this upper floor. I'm changing the opacity of the upper floor. I can also, let's see here. I can move my underlayment if I want, and then just reset it back to where it was initially. I could rotate my underlayment trace paper if I wanted. I'm going to just set that back to where it was. And I can underlay anything. I can underlay first floor, roof, the site. I can underlay an elevation, a section, a sketch. I can select any view in the entire project. I can underlay into this view. Revit only lets you underlay, I think, the floor below or the floor above. It's pretty limited, or maybe just the plan views. So, I mean, that's super helpful when I'm, you know, trying to model and I want to see how things are stacking and whatnot. And I can also just switch between my views. Now I'm on the bottom level underlaying the upper level. I can make my layers transparent or my view transparent or not, versus the other way around. The other thing that's just so easy about all this, pardon these, I'm going to hide these circles. These are irritating. Hide that layer. You know, if I'm working, I had a civil engineer, as I'm doing this real schematic layout, civil engineer says to me, I need a DWG background of what you're working on. Now, I don't want to take time to set up views and do all that. Just going to create, out of all the options I'm developing, I'm just going to put a marquee around the one that I like, file, save as, and I can save it as a PDF. I can save it as a DWG. And the wonderful thing is when I hit save, what elements do you want to save? I can just say just the marquee area, just what I'm highlighting, and it'll export this as a DWG, opens seamlessly in AutoCAD. You know, the other cool thing is if I'm working in, oops, I hit save, I meant to hit cancel. The other thing is if I'm working in 3D, turn all my layers back on here for a second. And I have a friend that's working in Sketchup. Let's use my schematic view, plan presentation. You know, I can save this simply as a SketchUp model. Oh, I have to create some. My layer combinations are a little wonky right now. Let's do that. Let's turn on the walls and let's turn off the zones. You know, I have a million layers. If you want to have only 5 layers to simplify your life, you're welcome to do that. I can take this and I can do file, save as, and I can save it as a SketchUp file that can open seamlessly in SketchUp, and all the materials transfer, all the geometry transfers. It's so simple and so seamless that Revit really has a hard time doing that. The other thing is the layouts for just schematic work are really great to use. I like them better. Why? Because I can drop on PDFs and JPEGs and I can crop them. And, you know, this is a JPEG off of a website. of the site plan, and I could just crop this. You can't crop JPEGs in Revit. Why not? It's just such a simple thing to do. I can crop it any crazy way I want. I can even make, weird shapes if I wanted to. Because maybe I wanted to just crop out a building or something, an object, and I could do that. I could do whatever I want with these. Undo all that. Update my image again. There's just so much flexibility in Archicad. Some people, maybe that scares them a little bit because you can literally do whatever you want. You can, if you draw something wrong, it lets you draw something wrong. If you want to draw something at 26 feet and 256 of an inch, it'll let you do that. Revit won't let you do that. Revit has a lot of guardrails that kind of tell you and keep you within the lines and try to prevent you from making mistakes. But that means it's a very rigid software. Archicad is a very flexible software. You can really go crazy with it and just basically do whatever you want with it, within reason. I mean, it's not like Rhino. It's not good for parametric crazy shapes and whatnot. It's more like SketchUp for realistically for buildings that will actually get built. Things that have pitches and curves and angles. 99% of the buildings you see, this is a great software for it. It's not going to be. You're not going to want to design the Los Angeles Concert Hall by Frank Gehry using this software. You're going to need something else. Here, I can just change the roof angle and just go crazy, whatever I want. But just for design, it's so much easier. I mean, I can even zoom inside this building easily in this software, which try to do that in Revit and you want to pull your hair out. If you want to just kind of navigate around, it's just really great for that. So here I am just walking around, blah, blah, blah. I think that's enough for this demonstration. You can do construction documents. You can do sections, details. And I think it's a little easier, honestly, to do detailing in Archicad than it is in Revit as well. But that's another topic for another video. Last thing, why is Revit so much more popular than Archicad? It's because of the business strategy of Autodesk as a corporation. Revit is great for engineers and great for contractors. They love the rigidity and they love the platform of the whole Autodesk Construction Cloud, where you can share models and everything. And so Graphisoft was slow to the game to create that kind of integrated platform for all disciplines, and they didn't pursue contractors and they didn't pursue engineers with their software. It was just for architects by architects, and so Autodesk has monopolized pretty much the industry. But if you are just a small firm or mid-sized firm and don't care about paying huge fees to use the Autodesk Construction Cloud, and this is a fantastic software that can replace CAD, replace SketchUp, and replace Revit. You kind of do all three of those in one software, and even I would say replace InDesign with the flexibility of the layouts and what you can do in the layouts. And I'll just leave it in that. You can export to Revit. You can export to other softwares if you need to do integration and have your consultants send you an IFC model and show their mechanical and structural models and import them into Archicad. You can do that. It's just simply not as seamless as the Autodesk environment that they've created, and that's why it's not as popular. They were slow on the business end in getting all the other players to adopt their software, and that's why they fell behind. But I love it for design. like I said, I'll design in Archicad, and then later on when I'm ready for CDs, I'll move it into Revit because that's the standard that we're using in our office. And that's my workflow because it's better than SketchUp, and it's better than designing in Revit. That's for sure. Please don't ever design in Revit. That's it for today, and that's my rant. Not a rant, but that's my informative video. Revit's good for some things, but Archicad as a design tool is far quicker and far easier to use. Thank you very much.